Hei alle sammen, or in English, hi everyone, and welcome to this mini webinar on micro habits. So my name is Svein Øverland. I'm the chief psychologist on Overvinne. And before making this presentation, I asked my chat GPT to make an illustration of what most people will think of when thinking about change. And it made this rather colorful, but maybe a bit unrealistic picture of how change is. And I think it's a bit inspired by the famous quote of Walt Disney. He said, as you might remember, if you can dream it, you can make it. But unfortunately, dreaming about change is not enough. Dreams, wishes, and willpower is seldom enough. It also requires hard work and some concepts that are useful in a system that works. And the problem with starting to change without having a system is that every time you fail, this will undermine your belief in change and making it more difficult the next time you will decide to try again. On the other hand, long-lasting change relies on building systems for change. And making this will strengthen your belief in change and also boost your self-confidence, making it easier to change the next time you decide so. So, micro habits, what is it? Well, put in a nutshell, you can define it as a system of small, cumulative, and self-sustaining changes. I will, of course, describe this more clearly. But first, let's look at the definitions for some more common concepts. So, reflexes are automatic actions based on biology. If you step on something sharp, you will retract your foot without doing any conscious consideration about it. Decisions, on the other hand, are action based on weighing pros and cons. That is typically what we do when we have to decide between two actions. It will require some time, of course, but it's a logical process, more or less. Habits, which is the topic of this presentation, is automatic action based on decisions and repetitions. So your brain, every time you decide or react, will tend to make connections. And these connections in a synaptic level based upon repetition will strengthen the association and you will have the habits. Now, you have to remember that there are no inherently good or bad habits. There are just habits. And the thing is, habits will be good or bad based upon the context. For instance, eating an Elvis sandwich each morning, which is quite filled of proteins and calories, obviously it's not a good habit if you're on a diet. But if you are bulking up for a bodybuilding competition, or if you are a bodybuilder, that could be a good habit to eat as much as possible because you are using a lot of calories as well. And the same way with starting the day with a double espresso and cornetto. It's not a good habit for maintaining a healthy lifestyle, being filled with caffeine and calories in the start of the day will not get you through the whole day. But it could be a good habit if you are moving to Italy and would like to meet new friends in the local cafe, or you're planning to meet up with some business associates because you have some business in Milan. But anyway, how you describe it as good or bad, the steps in habit formations are like this. It's a circle where you will have a cue, a trigger, something you see or remember or smells, and this will start a craving. You want this thing. You might want to eat it or do it or whatever. And this again will generate the response that will be the actually action, what you will do. For instance, eat or do the thing you crave. And then this will give the reward, and that happens in your brain. Um, so I will give an example to you, but just stopping a bit about the formation. So it's biology, like reflexes, because this is how we human beings are hardwired to react. So cues or triggers, if you want to, they are rooted in biology, and craving have wave-like patterns. So with the wave-like patterns, I mean it will come like this, and how you manage it will depend upon you being scared, or if you want to avoid to behave on the craving, you will know that the wave will ebb and flow. So if you try to postpone to do it or adapt to the situation, you will get through the wave more easily. So this knowing about the nature is beneficial in itself. And so to the psychology of habits, many of you have heard about the marshmallow tests, where young children will have the marshmallow in front of them and get to know that if they do not eat it, they will have two marshmallows after a while. Still, it's difficult for young people, and indeed grown-ups as well, to not eat it. So the thing is, the cycle, the habit formation will get your action reinforced. Every time you do the thing that the craving asks you to do, then the reward will be maintained. But of course, if you are delaying your action or changing the response, this will not reinforce the cycle of habit formation, and you will use this knowledge to make new habits. So here's an example. So you are waiting in a line near the counter after a hard day's work, noticing the chocolate bars in the shelves next to the counter. That is the cue. You see it. And then comes the craving. You notice that you really want this chocolate, that you have deserved it, having had a quite hard day. And then you will start thinking more and more about it. And then at the end, if you are like most of us, you will buy the chocolate and eat it with delight. And this serves to be the reward, what's happening in your brain. The craving is satisfied, and this reinforces the association between cue, craving, and response. And then the next step, of course, is then when you ever are in a similar situation, like in a queue, or you have had a hard day work, you will think about chocolate. So every time you do this, the action will be reinforced. So based upon the psychology and the biology, you then, of course, would like to decrease the rewards of bad habits. And you can do that by postpone eating the chocolate until later in the evening, for instance. That will weaken the association. But also, even though you do not decide not to eat the chocolate, aka if you actually eat the chocolate anyway, but with the insight of this circle of cues and rewards, This will make you get more insight into habit formation and maintenance. And on the other way around, if you want to increase the power of good habits, which you do, obviously, then you should use time and distance, for instance, with preparing the gym bag and place it near the door the day before so that time and distance will get less. And also, every time you pass the gym bag, this will remind you of your commitment to live a healthy lifestyle. So, back to the system part, like a system of small changes. The most common way to do this is to make a habit scorecard. And the habit scorecard is based upon a sequence. So you will choose a sequence and the action in the sequence that you would like to change. So the first part is making the system. So then you will register the sequence of the behaviors, and then you have to remember to be specific. So in the example, you could even do it more specific, but this is how I did it now, because some time ago I had this bad habit of drinking cola in the morning, and I was not very successful in doing my 20 push-up in the morning. So what happened is that most of the time I would leave home without doing the push-up, and unfortunately, drinking a glass of cola was one of the first things I did in the morning. So I made this sequence like it is here. And what you do is you put a value to the behavior, like positive, negative, or neutral. So that is the first part. You make the system, you make the scorecard, and you add value to the behaviors. So what many people do wrongly is to start changing too soon. Remember the habit formation. How to change is based upon increased insight. So the more insight you, the better the change will be. So during the first 1 or maybe 2 weeks, you do not change anything, including the sequence. You just notice the cues, the craving, the response, and reward to get to more insights. And you can also see already here or anticipate how easy or difficult the change will be. So you can prepare yourself for the upcoming change. And then you will change the sequence or you will start delaying rewards. So, for instance, in the original sequence, as I just showed you, most of the times I didn't have time for push-up because it was the last thing I did before leaving. And of course, if I was a little bit late, then I had to not do the push-up to get to work in time. So obviously, pushing the push-ups forward into the sequence would be beneficial. So here you can see the old sequence and the new sequence. So the alarm goes off, and then instead of putting on my clothes, I did my 20 push-ups. Then, of course, not putting my clothes on will then also, because sometimes in Norway it's rather freezing, so then getting my 20 push-up quickly will also be beneficial. And then I have a cup of coffee before my brushing of the teeth, and then the glass of cola at the end. And also I postponed the glass of cola with 10 minutes. And of course, as you probably already can notice, that what happened is that the same thing happened with the cola as did with my push-up before the change. I didn't have the time for the cola. And also, a glass of cola doesn't taste too good after both a cup of coffee and brushing my teeth. So this is not a big thing, and that is the thing about micro habits. It's small changes, cumulative, so that for each week, then I can expand it. So I can put more good habits into the sequence. I can remove the bad habits. But the thing is, even though you have been expanding it for quite some time, you should not be content with reaching the goal, because the system of micro change is about applying this to several sequences in your life. So what you can do, you could either fine tune and expand your goals. For instance, my wake up routine, or I can find new areas for change. For instance, sequence at work or in the evening. So many of you probably have heard about SMART goals. I will not go through all the points in the SMART goal sequences, because I know you might know it already. But what is important here is that the micro habits are consistent with the SMART goals. It's about being specific. It's about being realistic, for instance. But what it is important to stress in this context is that you should base change on your values, because knowing your values, what is important for you, and picking areas of change based upon your values will strengthen your motivation. So, for instance, if you are not very much into push ups or gym, then why should you start with that one? Then maybe you should focus on an other area of your life. For instance, meditation before going to sleep. If sleeping problem is your problem, then it might be some problems with the sequence. So then you will start with the same way as already mentioned. You will start registering the sequence, adding values, and then just noticing before you change the sequences, or you will delay some of the actions. So, for instance, I'm learning Italian now, so I'm looking for ways for improving my Italian. So, as you can see from the list, there are several ways you can do that with quite little effort. So, I'm really into that now. And I have my motivation for that is that I also have a place in Italy. So, doing the training of English words and watching television in Italian or with Italian subtitles will enhance learning Italian, but also just knowing that I'm going to Italy soon will also strengthen my motivation. And a fact that you all know is from the song Beatles, with a little help from your friends. Of course, having help from your friends in terms of support will also strengthen your motivation. But one thing is just the support. So here you will see my Italian Duolingo. I have a friend here, Ellen, is actually my wife. But support is one thing, but also some healthy competition will strengthen their motivation. So as many of you already are on Strava, you know this already. Here you can see I lost my local Belgian, and then of course having a friend that I know of that actually have beaten me in this stretch of running gets me motivated to run even more and faster. So help is both support and healthy competition. But the good thing about micro habits, it's about doing stuff. So now you heard me talking about it. You've heard me making some examples from my own life. Well, you have to try it yourself. So what you do then, you will find what is important for you, what are your values, and you will have to put aside some minutes to make the scoreboard. Then off you go, And if you will find it successful, which I really hope, then you can move on. I hope this was beneficial for you to watch, and I wish you the very best.